we never fell in love with ourselves. The store that we built in 1984 was a very different store in 1990, all the way up to what we're doing now with House of Sport. A number of other retailers didn't really innovate, and the market passed them by.
Dick's Sporting Goods is a sporting goods and apparel retailer that as of November 20th, 2024, has a market cap of nearly $16 billion. Dick's has had a spectacular rise since the COVID pandemic, with its stock up 400% over the past 5 years.
Where we are now is that we think Dick's matters more to the brands and products than they ever have before. Not that there's a pendulum that shifts, but if there is a pendulum that shifts, the brands, I think, recognize that Dick's has become a destination.
Though the company went public in 2002, Dick's Sporting Goods has always been a Stack family business.
The business started in 1948. My father actually started the business as an 18-year-old kid. He was working in an Army-Navy store in Binghamton, New York, and he was a very avid fisherman, and he spent a lot of time with his grandfather fishing the Susquehanna and the Shenango rivers.
After a falling out with his boss, teenage Richard Stack quit his job and went home to tell his grandmother what had happened.
This was a depression-ridden family. They really had nothing. I mean, they scrimped and scraped for everything that they had. He was kind of lamenting to her, and she looked at him and she said, "What would this cost for you to do this yourself?" And he said, $300. She got up from her kitchen and went to the corner of the kitchen, reached into this cookie jar, this old cookie jar, and took out $300 and gave it to my father and said, "Go start this business yourself." He was shocked for two reasons. He was shocked that she gave him $300, and he was surprised that she actually had $300 to give to him. And he started a small bait and tackle shop that was about probably 500 or 600 square feet, really small, and that was the origin of the business and how it got started.
Ed began working at the age of 13. His father opened a second location, which nearly left the company bankrupt.
I worked there all summers, vacations, Christmas, and all that, all through high school. I've often said to people who have asked what that was like, I said, I hated every minute of it. I wanted nothing to do with the family business. When I headed off to college, I had no intention of ever coming back into the business. I always wanted to go to law school. That was my dream. When I came back from my freshman year, I had gotten a job at a law firm in Binghamton. And I came back and told my father, I said, I was really proud of myself because I'd gotten a job all by myself, and came back and said, hey, I'm going to be a clerk down at Hinman, Howard & Cattell. And my father looked at me, and I can't tell you exactly what he said, but he said, no, you're not. You'll be here. This is what puts bread on the table. You'll be here working this summer. Somehow, somewhere along the line, I fell in love with the business.
Ed graduated from college in 1977 and returned full-time at the store.
I wanted to expand the business, and my father wanted nothing to do with it. And I didn't understand at the time why he didn't, but as the older I've gotten, I've understood why, and he never got over the fact that he went out of business when he expanded.
Ed continued to push his father with his own ideas for growing the brand.
My dad was a pretty colorful guy, and he looked at me and he said, you know what? You think you're such a smart fill-in-the-blanking SOB, go down to the bank, get your own line of credit, and buy me out. So that's what I did. Went down to the bank, got a line of credit, came back and said that we're ready to go.
Ultimately, Ed and the siblings bought the business from his father in 1984. At the time, there were 2 locations in Binghamton, New York.
The very first thing I did when bought the business from my father was put a board of directors together. I was smart enough to know, and I wasn't smart enough to know everything. So I put that board together, and they helped educate me. Without that group of guys, I don't think we would be where we are today. Because whenever we got a little bit over our skis, so to speak, they would kind of push back, talk to us. The one thing I always did was respected the board. A few other things that we did, we got into the athletic footwear business, and we got into the athletic apparel business. We were really a hunt, fish, camp store with some sporting goods. Getting into that athletic footwear business, that athletic apparel business, getting more involved in the team sports side of the business was really a big change in our business.
But not every new initiative worked well for the business.
We moved the business from Binghamton, New York to Pittsburgh in 1994 and literally almost went out of business. We had expanded too quickly. We opened up 18 stores on a base of 22. We outstripped our capital structure, outstripped the management team, including myself, could run the business. And fortunately, we got it back on track with the help of the investor group that invested in the business.
A pivotal moment came for the company in 2018 when Dick's made headlines after a devastating school shooting in Parkland, Florida.
As I sat there that weekend and listened to those kids that survived the shooting at Parkland and listening to those parents who lost a child, it had a really profound impact on me. I'm not much of a crier, but I sat there and watched those news stories and said I hadn't cried that much since my mother passed away. And it got to the point where, as I was watching it, I said, I don't want us to be a part of this story any longer. So at that point, we decided that we were going to not sell any of the assault-style weapons any longer, high-capacity magazines, and we wouldn't sell guns to anybody under 21 years old.
Ed predicted the company would lose more than $300 million in annual revenue by decreasing its gun and ammo stock.
As we went through this process, there were so many people really upset with us that a number of people decided, not only am I not going to buy my hunting products from you, I'm not going to buy my kids' baseball cleats, I'm not going to buy my golf clubs. We knew that that was going to happen, but we really thought it was the right thing to do because the system was broken. Today we've evolved our business now and have gotten out of the hunting business altogether. We talk about it internally. If we had a chance to do it all over again, we'd do it all exactly the same way.
In the end, it was actually good for business as Dick's replaced its gun and ammo displays with more profitable products. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and brick-and-mortar retailers all over the country began to shutter.
Dick's was a very different company before 2020. So there were a lot of differences between what they looked like before COVID and after. The average same-store sales growth for Dick's was about 2%. We think the sporting goods and the broader categories that Dick's was selling into was likely growing faster than that. So it appeared that Dick's was not a share gainer, that they were not keeping up with the market.
As the pandemic spread, the company's profits rose.
People really were leaning into wellness. Sport was really important.
We're being more active, we're running more, we're being fit, we're staying in our homes. Those trends began to benefit the sporting goods category and Dick's more broadly. They succeeded because they were investing in omni-channel, this multi-channel, buy online, pick up in store. So the customer experience interacting with the store was great, and they rose to the occasion.
The reason people come to us versus buying online from some of our, Amazon or some of the brands direct is that in this business, people really want to feel it, touch it, try it on, and it's really important to make sure that those shoes fit. They want to feel that baseball glove. They want to get into the hitting bay and get fit for a driver or a set of irons. So the experiential aspect of our business is one of the biggest reasons why we've been able to survive when some others haven't, or how we're able to survive in the marketplace in the digital age, which we're really aggressive from a digital business too. Our digital business continue to be great.
In February 2021, Ed Stack stepped down as CEO after nearly 4 decades, handing off the role to Lauren Hobart. The company continued to emphasize the importance of community engagement through sports with its Dick's Sporting Goods Foundation.
They've instituted a culture of recognition, of employee feedback, and it has elevated what should have already been a fun and engaged culture to a next level.
Betting on its own success, Dick's is now leasing abandoned department stores within suburban malls, turning them into experiential stores called Dick's House of Sport. These mega stores are in some cases nearly triple the size of a traditional 50,000 square foot location.
We started this concept probably 8 years ago. And the idea was we were going to build what we characterize as the store of the future. The North Star that I put out there was we need to build the concept that will kill Dick's Sporting Goods. if somebody else opened this store across the street from the store we're in today, traditional store, we're out of business. We could not compete. And I think that's what we did.
Dick's will have a couple of challenges that they'll need to overcome. And that reinforces the need for Dick's to make sure that they're staying relevant with the next product and taking care of these brands as their evolutions or as their product continues to evolve.
Ed has now been with Dick's for nearly 60 years, but when asked about what he's most proud of, he'll tell you the answer stems from a promise he once made to his father.
He'd been really sick. He had Alzheimer's. I went up to see him and sat down and talked with him, and he was kind of in and out of consciousness, but it was really getting close to the time. And the thing he was always concerned about was, would his business stand the test of time? It was still so important to him that this business stood the test of time, that the family was able to carry on his legacy. And I remember sitting with him that day, and I took his hand and I said, "Dad, if it's time to go, it's okay, you can go. There's really nothing more you can do. The business will be fine. I promise you, I will take care of this business." He couldn't really talk, but I talked with him a little bit about that. Then that night, he passed away. And the one thing I think I'm most happy about is that we've been able to fulfill that promise to him on his deathbed, that the business would continue to grow and survive, and hopefully for generations to come.